Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we crack open the source material, bypass the noise, and deliver you a direct, actionable roadmap to what matters most. Today, we are moving far beyond just the toothbrush and toothpaste aisle. We're looking deep into the business of oral care. Specifically, the intricate infrastructure behind Colgate-Palmolive, a true titan of fast-moving consumer goods.
That's right. For the average consumer, Colgate is just, a brand staple, a familiar tube on the shelf. But for you, the importer, the distributor, the wholesaler, this is really a masterclass in global logistics. It's a blueprint for operating one of the most extensive consumer goods networks ever devised, I'd argue.
Yeah, it's more than just making toothpaste.
Exactly. We're not just talking about manufacturing. We're dissecting the circulatory system of a multi-billion-dollar operation, how things actually move.
Our mission today is a deep dive specifically tailored for your operational needs. As an importer, as a wholesaler, we are dissecting Colgate's global manufacturing and distribution model to extract those crucial nuggets of logistics, quality control, and regional strategy. These are the things that dictate successful high-volume wholesale operations, and our specific focus is how you can leverage this knowledge when sourcing and exporting these products efficiently, particularly from high-growth hubs like the Asia-Pacific region.
Okay, so let's set the stage with the sheer scale we are analyzing here. Colgate-Palmolive, according to our sources, runs an astounding 79 production facilities.
29.
Yes, 79. And these are spread across more than 70 countries. This massive system serves over 200 countries and territories worldwide. It's truly global.
79 plants. I mean, that is an almost unbelievable level of geographical distribution. And this decentralization, it isn't an accident, is it? It's clearly the bedrock of their market dominance.
It has to be strategic.
So we're going to break down how they make, move, and market their products at this scale. And importantly, why understanding that complex blueprint is absolutely essential for stabilizing your wholesale supply chains and maximizing your margins.
Okay, let's start with that massive infrastructure, 79 facilities in over 70 countries. Now, for a business built on low-cost, high-volume, standardized products like toothpaste, centralization often seems like the conventional wisdom. You might think just build 3 enormous, hyper-efficient plants and ship globally.
Right. Economies of scale in just a few places.
But Colgate clearly rejected that model. They went the other way.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Their strategic regional production strategy. You said this is the key insight for B2B partners. Why bother with such massive decentralization? I mean, with global labor costs potentially favoring consolidation, why hasn't Colgate shifted to just a handful of automated mega plants? Is the cost of maintaining 79 plants truly offset by the logistical gains? It seems counterintuitive at first glance.
It's definitely a complex calculation. But fundamentally, it seems to boil down to a few key things. Perhaps resilience and market access are big ones.
Yeah.
Firstly, decentralization ensures consistent product availability worldwide. That's the baseline requirement for any B2B partner promising continuity of supply. You need the product there.
Okay. Reliability first.
But more tactically, it means significantly reduced transportation costs and, importantly these days, environmental impact. Just because transit distances are shorter.
Less shipping distance, lower fuel costs, lower emissions.
Exactly. When you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of containers annually, minimizing that last-mile transit from the factory to the local port, or even just overland to distributors, is a huge efficiency gain. It adds up incredibly quickly.
And it's also a hedge against regulatory hurdles, isn't it? That seems critical.
Absolutely. That's a huge piece.
If a country imposes tariffs or, non-tariff barriers on imports, having local production or production within a specific trade bloc allows them to sidestep those costs entirely, potentially.
Precisely. That localized manufacturing strategy allows them to qualify products for preferential trade status in various regions.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you are shipping goods produced in a specific trade zone, like the EU, or utilizing agreements like USMCA between the US, Mexico, and Canada, you benefit from reduced or even eliminated tariffs. Now, for a high-volume wholesaler, the difference between, say, a 15% tariff and a 0% tariff on a multi-container order, that's massive.
That's the difference between profit and loss. easily.
Absolutely. This strategy makes the entire wholesale operation run with thinner, perhaps, but definitely more reliable margins
Yeah.
because you're mitigating that tariff risk.
Okay, beyond the cost savings and tariffs, we have to talk about speed.
Yep.
Faster delivery times to retail partners and local distributors, that's a massive competitive advantage, right? Especially when markets surge or formulas need quick changes.
Absolutely. And that flexibility is sort of twofold. First, responsiveness to regional demand fluctuations. If the demand for, let's say, a specific whitening formula suddenly spikes in Southeast Asia,
Right.
a nearby hub like Guangzhou can rapidly increase production. You avoid that, 6 to 8 week lead time required for transatlantic or transpacific shipping?
Much more nimble.
Exactly. And the second aspect is customization. Local plants can handle the fine-tuning of products for local preferences, whether that's adapting fluoride concentrations for specific national regulations, which vary quite a bit, or introducing regional-specific flavors tailored to local palates. Think about different tastes popular in Asia versus Europe.
That makes sense. You can't just have one global flavor profile.
Not effectively, no. And crucially, there's supply chain resilience.
Yeah.
This is like their operational insurance policy.
This feels more important than ever now.
It really does. If there's a port strike, say, in the Mediterranean, or a natural disaster that cripples a specific plant,
Which happens.
the other 78 facilities can potentially scale up production or reroute supply. That redundancy built right into the architecture of the operation is priceless in today's, let's face it, disrupted global economy. And it guarantees, or tries to guarantee, business continuity for their global wholesale partners, which is what you need as an importer.
Okay, so that's the why. Now let's pinpoint where. These cornerstone facilities you mentioned, their roles define the regional supply chain and really inform your sourcing strategy as a B2B buyer.
Exactly. Let's map it out.
Starting in North America, the anchor seems to be Morristown, Tennessee. What's the story there?
Morristown is described as state-of-the-art, a huge facility spanning over 500,000 square feet, and it recently benefited from a substantial $50 million expansion. That signals Colgate's commitment to serving the massive and, frankly, demanding U.S. domestic market.
$50 million, so purely focused on the U.S.
It seems primarily focused on high-volume production for the U.S., technological optimization, and maintaining incredibly tight logistical integration with major domestic retail chains. Think Walmart, Target, etc. For an importer looking to source specifically for North American consumption, this is the primary origin point. But its output is likely highly specialized for U.S. domestic regulatory standards, like FDA rules.
Okay. Now, the strategy gets more complex and, as you said, logistically brilliant when you look south at the Latin American operation.
Indeed. The Mission Hills facility in San Jose, Iturbide, Mexico. This one's a fascinating logistical beast. It serves a crucial dual purpose. First, it handles the immense demand from Latin America, which we'll see later is one of Colgate's highest-performing regions globally. Huge market.
Right, #1 region for them.
But critically, it also functions as an export hub, feeding into North America.
Oh, okay. So serving LATAM and exporting north.
Exactly. This maximizes logistical efficiencies by leveraging existing trade agreements like the USMCA, allowing products to cross borders more seamlessly, and minimizes the complexity of regional shipping compared to moving goods all the way from Asia or Europe into the U.S.
Smart. Using geography and trade rules?
It's a prime example of using geography and trade agreements as, really, supply chain tools. Very strategic placement.
Okay, moving across the Atlantic, where's the central processing unit, if you will, for Europe?
That would be Świdnica, Poland. This is reportedly one of Europe's largest toothpaste factories.
Poland! Interesting choice.
Well, its location in Central Europe is hugely strategic. It benefits from Poland's superior and rapidly developing transportation infrastructure. We're talking road, rail, and sea access nearby. This allows for timely and cost-effective delivery throughout the entire European Union.
Tapping into that EU single market.
Exactly. Products from Świdnica are positioned to exploit the EU's single market advantage, ensuring rapid, tariff-free distribution to European retail partners and wholesalers. For wholesalers targeting the broader European market, Świdnica is probably the non-negotiable origin point.
Makes sense. Okay, let's turn our attention now to the explosive growth zones of Asia. Big potential there.
Definitely. For the Asia-Pacific region, the primary manufacturing hub mentioned is Guangzhou, China. This facility is the centerpiece for servicing both the massive domestic Chinese market and acting as a central export engine for the greater Asian region.
So, similar dual role like Mexico, but for Asia.
Sort of, yeah. Serving China domestically, which is huge in itself, and then exporting regionally. For any importer looking at sourcing high-volume goods optimized for Asian consumer demand. which often means specific packaging, different language requirements, specialized product SKUs. Guangzhou is often the strategic point of origin.
And we cannot overlook India. You mentioned it's one of Colgate's biggest markets worldwide just due to its sheer population.
Right. To efficiently service India's vast domestic need, which often involves navigating unique distribution challenges across a huge country, they rely on critical hubs in Sanand, Gujarat, and Badi, Himachal Pradesh.
Okay, multiple plants within India itself.
Yes, and these facilities are scaled specifically to meet that extraordinary domestic demand first, before even considering wider export, most likely. This demonstrates a distinct scaling strategy. Local production meeting overwhelming local needs first.
Which keeps domestic costs down and inventory highly localized, I imagine.
Precisely. Mitigating long-distance shipping dependency within India itself, which can be complex.
So, we have this incredibly complex web. 79 plants strategically placed to minimize cost, exploit trade laws, and guarantee resilience. For the B2B wholesaler listening, the key takeaway here seems to be flexibility, right?
That's a good way to put it.
You can potentially choose your sourcing point based on your final destination market to minimize tariffs and shipping times, knowing that the core quality, which we'll get into next, remains consistent globally.
That's the promise, yes.
Yeah.
Strategic sourcing becomes possible because of this network.
Right. And that brings us to a crucial question that often trips up importers. Consistency. If a wholesaler sources, let's say, a standard cavity prevention formula from the Polish plant 1 month, and the next month sources the exact same named formula, maybe even same SKU structure, from the Chinese plant in Guangzhou, will the products be chemically and physically identical? Can you rely on that?
Functionally, they absolutely must be.
Wow.
I mean, this consistency is the lifeblood of maintaining global brand trust, and it's critical for regulatory compliance in every single destination country. You can't have variations. Absolutely. The source material confirms this. It states that all 79 production locations strictly adhere to Uniform Good Manufacturing Practices, what we call GMP.
GMP.
GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practices, are essentially the operational roadmap. They're a globally recognized standard. They ensure products are consistently produced and controlled according to quality standards appropriate for their intended use. This level of stringent, consistent quality control is the pillar that allows them to meet international export standards without fail, regardless of where that specific tube was filled.
Okay, so they have this global standard. But how do they actually enforce this across dozens of countries? You've got potentially varying local regulations, maybe different local suppliers for secondary components like packaging. How does that work?
Well, their quality assurance framework is described as incredibly dense and multi-layered. It's not just a piece of paper. It starts with comprehensive testing and regular mandated audits at every single site, no exceptions.
Audits of each plant?
Yes. And we're talking about inspections spanning from raw material ingresso, ensuring the purity standards of the abrasive agents, the flavor components, the active ingredients like fluoride, all the way through to final product verification and packaging integrity. Does the seal work? Is the box correct?
And this isn't just, ticking a box on a form. This is driven by state-of-the-art technology, right? That seems to be a theme.
Entirely. Advanced technology drives this consistency. We see automation, smart sensors, and sophisticated data analytics integrated into every step of the production line. This allows for real-time monitoring of critical parameters, temperature controls during the blending process, the precise mixing speeds, the ingredient ratios, down to tiny fractions.
So catching problems before they happen.
Exactly. This precision prevents quality issues before they have a chance to occur, which is far superior and much cheaper than merely identifying defects after a whole batch has been manufactured.
Okay, let's get tactical then. What specific processes are mandated in the quality control labs? You mentioned labs at each site.
Yes, QC labs at each facility. And they are mandated to follow identical, standardized protocols globally. This ensures that test results are comparable whether the lab is in Tennessee or Guangzhou or Swinega. Apples to apples.
Okay, what kind of tests?
They perform extensive and sometimes time-consuming testing. Firstly, microbiological analysis. This is crucial for ensuring product safety and shelf stability, basically, making sure there are no harmful bacteria or contaminants.
Right, very important for an oral product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Secondly, chemical composition verification. This confirms that the active ingredients, particularly fluoride, are exactly at the legally specified concentration for that market. And those concentrations do vary regionally based on regulations.
Ah, okay. So they test to meet local rules too.
Yes. And thirdly, physical property testing.
Yeah.
This checks critical factors like viscosity, how thick is the paste, texture, how does it feel, and stability, does it separate over time, how it performs coming out of the tube.
The user experience, essentially.
Exactly. These identical, rigorous protocols applied everywhere are what maintain the brand's global reputation for reliability. It's what makes, theoretically, a tube from Poland functionally identical to one destined for India, even if the packaging or fluoride level is slightly different based on local needs.
That clarity on consistency is vital, but it leads directly to what you called the single biggest area of confusion for new importers and customs brokers: decoding the made-in label.
Yes, this is a critical point. It demands absolute clarity for wholesalers tracking product sourcing and dealing with customs declarations day in, day out. The made-in label indicates one specific legal and non-negotiable detail, the country where the final substantial transformation and assembly took place.
Substantial transformation. What does that mean in practice for toothpaste?
It means the facility where the bulk ingredients, the blended paste itself, were mixed together according to the formula, then filled into the individual tubes, and finally sealed and packaged into the retail carton. That final step of creation.
Okay, so even if Colgate sources the silica abrasive from, say, country A, the flavor extract from country B, and the tube material from country C,
Yeah.
but the final blending, filling, and sealing happens in Poland. The tube says made in Poland.
Correct. That's the rule of origin. It defines the final origin for customs purposes. So, for example, a tube you pick up in Southeast Asia might very likely say made in China, pointing to that Guangzhou plant we discussed.
Right.
This means the importer must use the Chinese origin when declaring the product to customs, even if certain raw materials used in that blend originated elsewhere. That's irrelevant for the made-in declaration.
But the core formulation quality, as established by GMP, remains globally uniform regardless of that label.
Precisely. That's the key distinction. Quality standard is global. Made-in label is about the last place of significant manufacturing.
So why does this distinction matter so profoundly for you, the B2B importer? It sounds like a technicality, but it's clearly not.
Because for you, the made-in label directly dictates your logistical strategy and, frankly, your financial exposure. It serves as the transparent indicator of the product's final origin required for that crucial document. The Certificate of Origin, the COO.
Ah, the COO. Always needed for customs.
Always. It's non-negotiable for customs clearance globally. And that COO, based on the made-in country, directly influences the application of import tariffs, duties, and any specific national labeling or language rules. You absolutely must know which of the 79 plants produced your specific batch to correctly navigate the trade complexities of your final destination market. Are you dealing with EU rules, USMCA rules, ASEAN rules? It all depends on that origin.
So sourcing strategically from multiple regional hubs gives you logistical flexibility, but only if you meticulously track and comply with the made-in requirements imposed by global trade laws for each batch.
Exactly. It adds a layer of complexity, but also opportunity if managed correctly. Now, to understand the colossal distribution operation needed to support this manufacturing network, we must first appreciate the global market dominance we're dealing with. As of 2023, Colgate commanded a dominant 39.5% share of the global toothpaste market, nearly 40%.
Wow, almost 4 out of every 10 tubes sold globally.
It's huge. And that level of penetration requires an extremely sophisticated, highly localized distribution strategy. You don't get that market share by accident.
And here's where the global aspect really highlights itself again. Our sources show that over 70% of Colgate's net sales originate from outside the United States.
That's right, over 70%.
This isn't a company overly dependent on its home market. It is a truly diversified, multinational machine. Its fortunes rely on the world, not just the U.S.
And the 2023 sales breakdown confirms this massive global dependency. It also informs where the fastest-moving volume lies, which is key for wholesalers deciding where to focus. Latin America is the global leader, accounting for 23% of total sales.
23%. Higher than North America.
Yes. This reflects, likely, decades of deep market penetration and strong brand loyalty in that region. North America follows closely at 21%. Still very significant.
Okay, now the numbers most relevant perhaps to our listeners in the import-export sector, especially those focused on growth. Asia Pacific.
Right. Asia Pacific contributes 16% of sales. Now, while it's not the largest segment yet,
16% still sounds substantial.
it is, and critically, this figure represents extraordinary growth potential given the population dynamics and the rising consumer class across that region. Huge upside.
Makes sense. And the rest?
Europe accounts for a mature 14%, a stable market, and Afro-Eurasia rounds it out at 6%, highlighting those emerging market opportunities that require, high degrees of localized distribution effort to even reach consumers.
Okay, so this incredibly diverse geographical sales pattern, it must necessitate a highly adaptive logistical system. You can't use the same approach everywhere.
Absolutely not. Which is why Colgate employs what we can call the hybrid distribution strategy.
Hybrid, okay.
It's essentially a two-pronged approach, tailored precisely to the maturity, the fragmentation, and the infrastructure of the local market you're operating in.
All right, let's break that down. Start with the mature markets, North America and Europe. How does the direct sales model work there? You mentioned that earlier.
Right. In developed economies with established infrastructure and large retail players, Colgate utilizes direct sales relationships with the massive centralized retail chains. This model allows for superior inventory management, often real-time data exchange, and stronger partnership control. You're dealing directly with the big buyers.
Like Walmart.
Exactly. Consider the scale. Walmart alone, according to the sources, receives approximately 15% of Colgate's global net sales in a given year.
15% to one retailer globally.
Yes. Managing an account like that demands direct oversight, centralized warehousing, and highly efficient, often automated logistical processing. Things like electronic data interchange, or EDI, to manage inventory replenishment almost automatically. Very sophisticated.
Okay, that makes sense for the Walmarts and Carrefours of the world. But that efficient, centralized, direct sales model, it falls apart entirely when dealing with vast, fragmented, and often remote regions, which defines much of Asia-Pacific and Africa.
Precisely. In emerging markets, Latin America, too, to an extent, but especially Asia-Pacific and Africa direct, centralized distribution is often logistically and economically prohibitive. It just doesn't work.
Why not?
Well, you can't realistically run a fleet of dedicated Colgate trucks to thousands upon thousands of tiny, often cash-only corner shops scattered across a subcontinent like India or archipelagos like Indonesia. The costs would be astronomical.
Right. The last mile problem magnified.
Exactly. So they pivot. They rely heavily on sophisticated local distributors. These are independent businesses, experts in their specific region.
And what role do these local partners play that Colgate's own global infrastructure cannot or chooses not to?
They are the final, essential bridge to the consumer in those markets. These partners possess the established multi-tiered networks reaching those small shops. They have the localized logistical expertise, knowing the roads, the conditions, the best times to deliver. They have the necessary local language proficiency. And crucially, they have the deep cultural insights needed to penetrate remote areas where large-scale direct distribution would be just too costly or ineffective.
So they handle the small batches, the local credit maybe.
Yes, exactly. They manage the small batch deliveries, the complexities of local trade credit, which can be very different, and maintain relationships with thousands of small retailers. For the importer, understanding that this reliance on local partners exists is absolutely key to accessing the supply chain competitively in these regions. You often need to work with or through these structures.
And this strategic reliance on local partners in emerging markets, it must be directly linked to the need for that granular localization of the product itself that you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely, they go hand in hand. That 16% sales figure in Asia-Pacific, for example, isn't built on selling just one standard global product. It's built on a variety of products manufactured and packaged specifically for that region. Manufacturing and distribution must adapt constantly.
Adapting to what specifically?
Region-specific formulations, for one. Different flavors that appeal locally, maybe different ingredient concentrations based on consumer preference, or, again, local regulations. Fluoride levels are a common example.
And packaging, too, you said. That's a huge factor, isn't it? Affecting both the importer's inventory planning and the end consumer's purchase decision.
It changes everything at the shelf level. We see smaller tubes, perhaps 50 gram or 75 G, becoming extremely popular in price-sensitive emerging markets.
Lower price point per tube.
Exactly. It allows for a lower absolute price point at the shelf, making the product accessible to more people, even if the actual cost per gram might be slightly higher than a giant tube.
Makes sense psychologically and economically.
Right. Conversely, in developed economies, you see larger, economy-sized family tubes dominating. People buy in bulk more readily. Now, this sheer variety of stock-keeping unit SKUs, tailored formulations, packaging sizes, languages on the box, across 200 territories.
Yeah.
It demands extraordinarily sophisticated inventory management from wholesalers.
It sounds like a nightmare to manage.
It's complex. You are juggling different market requirements, different expiry date tracking, different labeling laws.
Yeah.
Your distribution network must accommodate all these layers of complexity, ensuring compliance with varying local regulations. It's a major operational challenge.
That complexity managing localization, navigating fragmented markets, ensuring compliance across dozens of Asian nations alone, that sounds like the greatest challenge for any B2B buyer attempting to source products efficiently from that key 16% market segment in Asia Pacific.
It is arguably the single biggest bottleneck. A successful wholesaler looking to export from that region needs a partner who is physically present in that fragmented market. Someone who understands the local currency risks, the specific tariff structures for intra-Asia shipping versus shipping outside Asia, and crucially, someone who can consolidate those diverse SKUs from potentially multiple sources into one efficient outbound container shipment.
Right. You can't effectively source from Asia Pacific using the North American direct sales playbook. It just won't work.
No, you must engage with local experts who live and breathe that complex distribution model every day.
Okay, this brings us directly to the practical application for you, the B2B importer listening right now. Our detailed analysis of Colgate's global strategy has really highlighted that the Asia-Pacific region, which includes key, rapidly growing markets like Vietnam, relies profoundly on these robust local distribution channels to manage that localization and penetration we just discussed.
That's right. We're talking about high-volume products already optimized for the Asian consumer base. Think about standard cavity prevention formulas, sure, but also the latest whitening toothpaste trending there, or popular regional varieties like Colgate Max Fresh, which might have specific flavors or sensations popular in Asia. These are produced efficiently in regional facilities like Guangzhou or potentially other Asian hubs.
Okay.
But the core challenge for international B2B buyers remains. How do you access these diverse, high-volume Colgate product lines efficiently and critically competitively for export markets across the globe? How do you tap into that 16%?
This is exactly where the need for a specialized local partner becomes absolutely paramount. It's not just helpful, it sounds essential. Given the complexity we've just detailed, the varied SKUs, the localization needs, the fragmented retail environment, you need an intermediary, someone who specializes in aggregating this high-volume supply chain access.
And this is where leveraging established specialists comes in. When it comes to buying FMCG in bulk at competitive prices from this region, Asia Grocery Wholesale, or AGW, is highlighted as a trusted partner. They essentially solve these complexities by acting as that necessary local bridge we identified.
AGW. Okay, Asia Grocery Wholesale. Tell us more about them.
They specialize precisely in grocery wholesale and distribution, strategically leveraging their operational base in Vietnam to serve the global export market. That seems key based in the region.
Exactly. And their value proposition isn't just theoretical. The source mentions it's built on over 20 years of verifiable experience.
20 years?
Yes, 20 plus years managing large-scale distribution and wholesale businesses within the highly dynamic Asian market. They've seen it evolve.
That deep local knowledge sounds crucial. They aren't just a freight forwarder then. No, absolutely not. They understand the inner workings of Asian FMCG supply chains from the inside. They know how to secure product lines that are in high demand across Asia. And they can likely offer consistent competitive sourcing because they are integrated into that local distribution ecosystem that Colgate itself relies on in the region. They speak the language, understand the culture of business there.
Okay. And for an importer looking to maximize shipping efficiency and consolidate orders, you mentioned their capability extends far beyond just dental care. That sounds vital for streamlining logistics.
Absolutely vital, because rarely are you importing only toothpaste. The sources indicate AGW handles an immense breadth of global FMCG products. This allows B2B buyers to achieve true logistical efficiency.
What kind of products?
Well, they manage diverse categories, including home care items like, say, Tide detergent, personal care brands like Sunsilk shampoo, and beverages like Red Bull energy drinks, among many others. Big global brands.
Okay, so you can potentially build a mixed container.
Precisely. This multi-category capability demonstrates their ability to coordinate large, multi-product, multi-SKU shipments. And that is the absolute backbone of efficient wholesale exporting. Consolidating dozens of different items from different manufacturers or categories into a single container significantly reduces your landed cost per item. Shipping air is expensive.
Definitely. Okay, let's be specific about the practical benefits of leveraging a Vietnamese hub for this kind of export. Why Ho Chi Minh City specifically?
Vietnam is rapidly emerging as a Central Asian logistics hub. It has advantageous geography, a growing economy, and strengthening trade relationships, both within ASEAN and globally. When you work with a specialist like AGW based there, you immediately gain access to those high-volume products already optimized for Asian consumer demand that we talked about, products proven to sell. Furthermore, you potentially benefit from highly competitive pricing, leveraging the true economies of scale that come from massive regional production runs like those happening in nearby Chinese or Indian hubs that AGW can likely tap into.
And the logistical expertise piece that you mentioned earlier, how does AGW provide that necessary support on the ground?
It's really the difference between navigating extreme complexity yourself versus having an expert simplify it for you. AGW is coordinating multi-product, multi-destination shipments daily. This involves managing the often confusing complexities of export labeling requirements, making sure the language, ingredients list, origin info is correct for, say, Australia versus the Middle East versus Africa.
Which change constantly.
They do. They ensure that the product's claimed origin, that critical made-in label we discussed, aligns perfectly with the destination country's tariff and regulatory structure, avoiding costly customs delays or rejections. And their physical location, Asia Grocery Co., Ltd., is strategically situated right in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, places them in immediate proximity to major global shipping routes and port infrastructure. This helps guarantee timely loading and optimized freight schedules. They're right there at the hub.
Okay, so to summarize that point, by working through a specialist like AGW in Vietnam, importers are effectively transforming Colgate's complex, decentralized manufacturing blueprint into a predictable, manageable, and potentially highly profitable wholesale opportunity, primarily by securing product lines already dominating that massive 16% Asia-Pacific market share and consolidating them efficiently.
That's a very good way to put it. They act as the key to unlock that regional potential for global buyers.
Yeah.
Hashtag tag outro. All right, so to wrap up this extensive deep dive, let's quickly summarize the 3 core operational insights that every importer, distributor, and wholesaler really must internalize about Colgate's global supply architecture. What should you take away?
Okay, let's recap first. The decentralized scale, we talked a lot about this. Operating those 79 strategically placed plants ensures fundamental supply chain resilience. That's number 1.
Right.
It also minimizes transit times and costs through regional production and allows for tariff hedging and rapid regional adaptation. Essentially, it minimizes the risk of a total supply collapse impacting your orders. Spreads the risk.
Good summary. Second, consistent quality and origin clarity. Remember the strict adherence to GMP and those identical quality control labs globally. This means a tube of Colgate, regardless of its manufacturing country, is chemically and functionally the same at its core.
Right, but crucially, the made-in label only dictates the final assembly point. That's vital for customs, certificates of origin, and tariffs. But it doesn't reflect the core product quality itself, which is globally standardized.
Exactly. And third takeaway, the hybrid distribution model demands local expertise in emerging markets. Because Colgate relies on direct sales in mature markets, but absolutely needs local partners to reach millions of remote consumers in high-growth zones like Asia-Pacific. Strategic sourcing through a trusted local distributor or a specialist aggregator like AGW is often the only way to effectively navigate those fragmented markets and secure competitive, diverse bulk supply from the region.
Okay, scale, quality origin, and the hybrid model needing local partners. Got it.
Now, this detailed look at Colgate's manufacturing strategy raises a final, maybe provocative thought about the future for you to consider. If localized production is the proven key to successfully navigating evolving protectionist tariffs and simultaneously fulfilling corporate goals of minimizing the environmental impact of long-haul shipping.
Which seems to be the trend.
Right. Then how aggressively will regional hubs like China, India, maybe even Mexico or Poland continue to expand their production capacity in the coming 5 to 10 years? We saw the $50 million expansion in Morristown for the U.S. market. We should probably expect similar, perhaps even larger, capital investments elsewhere.
Which would further accelerate the shift of the global supply chain balance toward more regional self-sufficiency.
That seems very likely, a trend to watch closely.
Absolutely. Okay, for those listening who are ready to leverage this knowledge right now, secure bulk Colgate products, and potentially consolidate a vast portfolio of other essential FMCG items for export, the next step is simple. Connect with Asia Grocery Wholesale, AGW.
That's right. You can find detailed product listings, get information on current pricing, and inquire about bulk order requirements by visiting their website at agrocery.asia.
That's EGROCERY.Asia. Or if you prefer to speak directly to the HEW team and discuss your specific multi-product, multi-destination shipment needs, you can contact them at +8490-904-6308.
That number again is +8490-904-6308. And it works via WhatsApp too, which is convenient.
Or you can email them at contact@egrocery.asia for pricing and bulk orders. All the details will be available with this deep dive. We'll talk to you next time for the next deep dive.